monetary. What the hell? Do you know how to pronounce that?
I didn't watch the damn thing, Morgan. You should know. Let me look it up. It's probably Monterey, right?
Monterey, right? It's like
Monterey.
monetary. South.
It's not monetary.
Yeah,
It's
it's
monetary.
our monetary fiscal policy this year is gonna be
Okay, but we have to get this right. Is it Monterey or Monterey?
Monterey.
Wow, you're not just gonna hentam this thing, right? Let's watch a video.
No, let me put it on Google.
Really trust Google to. Okay, you can trust Google.
Because it's an Angmo sound, bro. Monterey, yeah.
Monterey, yeah. Okay, Monterey. So, last week, Apple, WWDC 2021, big announcements, big event. Unfortunately, I have no idea what happened. And I'm hoping today Morgan here can help me to navigate all of the announcements and get me up to speed with what's been happening. Right, Morgan?
Yep. So for our listeners who doesn't know what WWDC is, it's Apple's annual developer conference where they make new announcements on the new features for all their major platforms on iOS, iPadOS, and macOS.
It's actually really good that you brought that up. I remember listening to a podcast called Mobile Couch a few years ago. This was when I was a very young developer, and they kept on mentioning dub. And I had no idea what they were talking about. Many months later, only did I realize that dub is a common short form that people use to refer to WWDC. So I remember giving them feedback on that episode saying specifically, hey, can you guys at least mention what is dub next time before you keep on referring to it multiple times? I did not think about that for this episode, but it was good that you thought about it. So now we have a short introduction as to what is WWDC. So WWDC 2021, it happened more than a week ago at this point, I think. And I've only read one The Verge article about what has been announced at WWDC. And it was just an article trying to summarize all the announcements. And I basically didn't see anything that really caught my eye. Therefore, I did not spend any additional effort really digging into it. Okay, just to explain, what's the word? The irony of this whole episode is that I work as an iOS developer, and if anything, I should be the one who's completely on top of every announcement that happened at WWDC.
And right now, me, as an Android developer, gonna tell you about the new exciting announcement from Apple, right?
Yes, I'm gonna find out about all the exciting announcements that Apple did from Morgan here. So let's jump straight into it, I guess.
For Dub this year, it's kind of have a lot of little crumbles around, so which means that they make small announcements, but also meaningful polishes for developers and users. So it might look like a low-key year for Apple, but I think there is some quite substantial amount of updates right here. So the weird thing about Apple, right, they start off with announcing a FaceTime link.
FaceTime what?
FaceTime link. So basically right now, Apple is trying to be Zoom. So right now, when you want to...
that's big. Okay.
So normally, when you want to video call your mother over in Netherlands, you will use WhatsApp, right? Because she doesn't have a FaceTime device, right?
Correct.
So now, you can actually send a link. So you can FaceTime with your mother. She can just click on the link and it will launch a web browser where you can video chat over there. So it's open to all platforms. So it includes Windows, Android, as long as it's web.
Wow, this is quite interesting, because one, Apple is opening up FaceTime to other platforms essentially. Two, like you said, they're basically trying to be Zoom right now.
I'm not sure whether you remember Steve Jobs was on the stage 10 years ago when introducing FaceTime to the world.
He said it was going to be open, right?
Yeah, open protocols and all that.
10 years later, here we are. Well, I'm sure it's not open protocols, right? But at least open in terms of, platform support. We're no longer locked into just Apple devices and FaceTime.
The more I read about it, I actually read some stuff about the technology between video voice messages, right? Actually, for Facebook, for WhatsApp, for Google, they're using the web WebRTC protocol.
I did not know that.
So technically, they are using the same protocol, meaning they can easily allow people to cross-platform to call each other because they are on the same protocol. The technology-wise, you can make a Google Duo call to Facebook Messenger. It's actually implementable. There's no restrictions about different APIs or all that. But because platforms being platforms and Google want to keep their user in Google ecosystem and Facebook want to do the same and Apple also has the same idea. And yeah, the greatest irony is that actually all video conferencing most of them are using WebRTC protocol.
I'm sure it's not that simple, right? I mean, just using the same protocol doesn't necessarily mean that, automatically, snap a finger and then everyone can use the same, then everyone can call each other. And I'm sure there's a lot more infrastructure work that is required in order to support it. I guess there's no desire, there's no reason for these companies to really put in the effort to add this cross-platform support, because what do you gain?
But another way that I look at it is that they are just arbitrary barriers from blocking cross-platforms possible. Because imagine RSS, which means that the technology behind podcasts, where we're using the RSS feed to publish. Is it publish? I'm not too sure.
Yes, you use RSS feed to publish stuff, yeah.
It doesn't matter which app you're using or which web you're using or which platform you're using. It's all compatible, right? But the idea is like that.
I see.
Anyway.
So how does this work? So let's just say I've got a FaceTime device now and I want to call someone who doesn't have a FaceTime device. In FaceTime now, I can just create a meeting, I guess, and then I could send the link to an individual, or can I also send it to a group of people and then a lot of people can join the call?
It's just a link. You can send it to a group, can send it to a person. You can create a calendar event which schedules a video call, just like Zoom is doing, and you can invite the people with the FaceTime link inside the calendar invite.
This is actually amazing now, because it means I no longer have to log into my Google account to open a Google Hangout just to have a group call. And I also don't need to bother with using Zoom anymore, because I can just use FaceTime to do all of this, right?
According to Apple, FaceTime link doesn't require the user to sign up an Apple account if the user doesn't have an Apple account.
Even better.
So which means that if you send an invite to your mother for a video call, she can just jump in without having to enter or create an Apple ID.
Even better. I think that's amazing.
Yep. There's some new features like spatial audio coming to FaceTime. But just curious, right, since you're using AirPods Pro, do you utilize the spatial audio thing?
I think I have it turned on. I have no idea where it's used.
So it's kind of like Dolby Atmos.
Oh, I need Apple Music to take full advantage of that, don't I?
I think there is Apple Music support coming soon, I think. I think it's slowly rolling out the spatial audio thing.
I see.
And for this new update for iOS 15, spatial audio going to be in FaceTime as well.
Wow.
So which means that you can hear people from coming different... for FaceTime group video calls, right? You have this floating bubble where the person speak, it will become larger, right?
I've never been in a FaceTime group call.
But you have seen the videos working before, right?
I have seen the videos working before, yes.
So supposedly that when the person speaks, it kind of grows. And if it's on the right, you will feel like the person is speaking from the right. So that's spatial audio.
I see, yeah.
And for this new update, they're getting rid of that. It's not getting rid of that. They kind of give you an grid option. So no more fancy bubbles jumping around. So it's grid view.
So they're dropping the fun social aspect of it and just basically adopting the Google Zoom approach, yeah?
They're not dropping. It's still there. Just that you have an option to make it grid view.
I see. Okay. Options are good, yeah?
Yeah. People always talk about Apple being a walled garden, and iMessage is one of the strongest glue that sticks people to the Apple ecosystem, right? Are you that type of
I don't
person?
think that's true at all for me or the people that I talk to. I very rarely have iMessage conversations, and if anything, iMessage kind of sucks for texting. You can't edit messages.
What? You can't edit? Wow.
I don't think you can even delete messages on iMessage. Yeah. So you can't delete messages, you can't edit messages, and sure, you get stickers and stuff, and you get some nice effects. But I just feel like whenever I text somebody on iMessage, I have zero confidence that they actually receive the message. I feel like I should also not clarify, but when I mentioned earlier that I've never been in a FaceTime group call, it's not because I don't have any friends, yeah. It's just because
you just don't have friends with iPhone, right?
Well, no, I've got a lot of friends with iPhones. The problem is that I think a lot of people over here are even I face this problem sometimes too. how do I get in touch with you on iMessage? Like when it comes to WhatsApp or Telegram, I feel like it's very easy.
From my side, because over here we got a lot of different devices, right? That over here we have friends that are on different platforms. Some of them are on iPhone and some of them are on Android. And in Malaysia, at least, the universal is that everyone definitely has an WhatsApp.
Yep.
And I've been pushing for people to use Telegram.
Recently,
now,
you've always been pushing people to use Telegram.
Yeah. So now, whenever I want to talk with people, and I'm sure that everyone's on Telegram right now. So that kind of defeats the purpose of, won't say defeat, it's more like iMessage just doesn't seem appealing to me at all.
Yep. Another challenge I have with iMessage as well is that you can't log into, well, I guess you can, but I feel a bit iffy about iMessage because when you're on a work computer, you can't just log into iMessage on that machine.
Yeah, because it ties into Apple account,
It ties into the Apple account. I don't want to log into my full Apple ID on my work computer.
Let's come back to a FaceTime link.
That's okay. FaceTime link.
Another fancy new thing is mic filters.
Microphone filters.
So recently, Apple Silicon, which means that the chips that they put on the iPhone and the iPad has this Apple Neural Engine.
All the neural linguistic processing, all the machine learning stuff, all the on-device machine learning, NLP, AI, all the buzzwords, right?
Yeah, and they are powerful enough to do fancy stuff like help you filter background noises. So right now for FaceTime, they have mic filters that actually kind of smart when they try to minimize your background noise. I think you can check out few of their YouTube demos. It looks amazing if it works, which means that I think that there's one demo that they show is that someone was turning on a leaf blower behind the background, and the person in the FaceTime call is able to filter out all that noise behind.
Wow. I'm very impressed by that, but at the same time, I'm also wondering, if you're turning on a leaf blower, why are you on a FaceTime call?
No.
I can imagine a situation where I've got a leaf blower on, and try to hold a FaceTime call. I'm like, just do one thing at a time.
There's a woman in a video call, on a FaceTime video call, and his daughter take a leaf blower and was at the background playing with it. Yeah,
I see. That makes
the demo,
a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, I thought it was some... Okay, yeah. I stand corrected then. Okay, That's a good example then.
And another fancy thing is that you can do portrait mode on FaceTime right now. Yeah, so which means that it can blur your background.
I see, portrait mode. I thought you meant like portrait orientation. I was like, what? I've always done FaceTime calls in portrait. I've never done them in landscape. Okay, I see. That's what you mean. Oh, is that what they're calling it? Portrait mode? This is basically Google's blur background function in Hangouts, right?
No, if you think about it, with the iPhone, you can actually take portrait shots, right? So which means that they sharpen the object and kind of blur the background.
But does it work on the front-facing camera? I thought it only works on the rear-facing camera.
It works on the front-facing camera for the past 2 generations of iPhones, I think. So they're bringing that to FaceTime right now. So FaceTime has a lot of new features and a lot of love and attention.
A lot of love and attention, yeah.
Since everyone is working from home right now.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess another way to say it is that FaceTime is finally catching up with other modern voice chatting applications.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. But I do wonder whether they're just a bit late to the party or not, because...
That's very late, man. Like, even Telegram has video calling for quite some time right now. Initially, they were quite reluctant. Not sure whether you heard of that.
No, I did not hear about their reluctance. Why were they reluctant on doing video calls?
Initially, Telegram is kind of like, they introduced audio, which means that you can voice chat. Then after that, they just kind of don't want to go down the video call thing. And then people keep comparing like, WhatsApp has video calling, why can't Telegram has it? Because Telegram has always have this campaign about, we have more features than WhatsApp and all that. But I can understand where Telegram is coming from, because video calling is quite resource intensive and Telegram doesn't charge their users. So I can see why they are reluctant to go into video calling.
Understood, yeah.
So there's a new thing that Apple announced. It's called Share Play.
Share Play? Wait, let me guess by the name. By the name, this must be some mechanism where you and another iPhone user, you can share a playlist and play it over the same like smart speaker or something?
Nope. So SharePlay.
Oh, let me take another guess. Let me take this. SharePlay must be a gaming mechanism. A gaming mechanism where you can. No, okay, I don't know. What is SharePlay?
So according to Apple's official introduction to it, is that SharePlay will let you hold group watch parties in FaceTime, or share your screen if you want to give a presentation.
I forgot that FaceTime doesn't have screen sharing.
Yeah, it's basically screen
This
sharing.
is just screen sharing,
but-
dude. Okay, but quite SharePlay.
But the fancy thing about SharePlay is the ability to watch something together at once. So do you know about Netflix Party?
Yep, I've heard about Netflix Party. Yep.
What do you call that? The Chrome plugin, which is now called Teleparty because I think they can't use the name Netflix.
Hmm.
So basically, you can share a link and start a Netflix show. So when people click on the link to come in and watch Netflix together, they're actually in the same timestamp.
Hmm.
So when people, when one of the person press pause on the video, everyone gets paused. So everyone is watching the same thing at one time.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like this, where Apple is trying to bring that into FaceTime. So basically, you can watch Apple TV, Disney Plus, Hulu together with this SharePlay.
Yeah, but I'm assuming
feature.
it's only the platforms that Apple like fully supports. Yeah, there's no way to do a Netflix party on an Apple FaceTime call.
You can. This is what they're trying to do. But
How? I can't think of the like from a developer's point of view. There's how can you sync? Let's say we are in a FaceTime call with another friend of ours, and suddenly we want to watch the same Netflix show. How when we click on that link on a FaceTime call, we get booted out of FaceTime into Netflix, and how are we supposed to? Then is it up to the application to support this protocol, this mechanism to like sync multiple users, or how does it work?
So for FaceTime, SharePlay works together with FaceTime. So for example, you and me are in a FaceTime call right now, and once I launch Stranger Things episode 1, you can see the same share.
I see. I see. Okay, so actually, this is not like Netflix party watch together thing. This is basically just in a normal Google Hangout, you can share, you can present a YouTube video, and it already this is just everyone watching the same video at the same time. Yeah, so I'm just seeing it on your screen, right? I'm not seeing it on my device.
But this SharePlay API intelligently would let you have the Netflix streaming happening on your side as well.
I see. Okay, so I'm
So
not
it helps-
seeing your screen. I'm seeing the thing like this. The streaming of the video happens on my device. It's just that it's synced across all the participants in the FaceTime call.
Yeah. So for example, when we are watching Netflix, your phone is talking with Netflix server directly rather than you trying to read what's on my screen.
Yep. If this works well, this can be quite fun actually, because then you can share YouTube links, and when you share a link in YouTube, everyone can watch it together,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
And the beautiful thing is that this is actually an API opened up by Apple.
Opened up, you mean provided by Apple? Yeah.
Yeah. No, when I say open up is that they allow third-party developers to have this feature in their apps. So it's not just Apple TV exclusive thing.
I see, yeah. But this still completely relies on the developer providing this. I can imagine
Yeah.
YouTube now having no incentive to support this, because then how are they going to monetize the videos that are shared through FaceTime?
So currently at launch, it's only a handful of lists that is supporting this feature.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, HBO Max, Hulu, Masterclass apparently, Paramount Plus, Twitch is on here as well. So which means that you can have a FaceTime call and also watch the same Twitch streaming at the same time, which is a bit weird because you can do that on the Twitch itself already, but it supports that. So the missing player over here, the biggest one, is Netflix. So Netflix doesn't support it right now.
And YouTube.
Yeah, and YouTube. This could be interesting moving forward.
Yeah,
So
this could be
basically
interesting moving
it's-
forward, yeah, too. But yeah, as again, it completely depends on the platform owners adopting the API, and
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't necessarily restricts to video streaming. It could be slides as well, presenting a slides.
I see,
And
because FaceTime still does not have a screen sharing feature, right?
yeah. So I think this approach by Apple kind of reduced that latency.
Okay, so we learned about SharePlay and FaceTime. Are these all the FaceTime related announcements?
Yep.
Okay,
So
cool. So to summarize FaceTime improvements in one sentence, for me it would be FaceTime is finally catching up to all the other video chatting platforms in the 21st century.
Yep.
How would you summarize the improvements on FaceTime?
So now the argument is that now you have everyone downloaded Zoom on their phone, on their computer. How are you going to convince people to use FaceTime? It's like even my dad has Zoom on his phone right now. So it's like
they're kind of too late to the party. And people, people stick to whatever they're accustomed to. And if people are accustomed to Zoom right now, or Discord or Telegram, I don't see any of these features being really good enough to like pull people away from whatever platforms they're already used to. And this is not coming out until a few months from now, so let's see what happens by then, right?
So you're saying that by the time FaceTime link releases, the pandemic's over already, right?
No, the pandemic is not going to be over. But by the time FaceTime link comes out, I think it will be one of those Wwdc features which make a big splash, but in the end they just become meh.
So the next thing is focus notification.
Focus notifications, okay.
So Apple decided to switch it up on how they do notifications for iOS 15.
I'll start by saying notifications on iOS are a mess. I think they're just a mess. I almost never pull down the notification center because it's just always a mess there. It's just impossible to keep track of what's what, and I hate the notification system on iOS. The only thing I rely on is the lock screen or the badges. Whenever I open notification center, it's just I don't gain much from that.
Then you're gonna love the changes that they just announced. There's a few ways they are approaching this. Number one is that they did this notification summary. So for example, you work from 9 to 6, right? And you only want work-related apps notification to go through from 9 to 6. So you can only allow Slack notification from 9 to 6.
This is exactly what CGPK was talking about, right?
Yeah. I think this is something that he's gonna have a lot of opinion on this.
Oh man, because this is basically a whitelisting mechanism. But sorry, go on. Yeah.
And this...
Sorry, I shouldn't say whitelisting. This is an allow list mechanism.
Yeah. So for this notification summary is that, for example, you got a lot of notification got accumulated during the day, and you can have this option to summarize all your notification at a particular time. For example, you want a summary of your evening notification at 6 o'clock, so they will come at one nice list at the end at 6 o'clock if you set to that time.
Okay.
So which means that you don't cramp. Yeah, so which means that for notification, when we think about it, is that whenever you got something, it just pings you as one item, right?
That's kind of the definition of a notification, yeah.
and I don't know, like a lot of apps, they have promotions, notification, although we hate them a lot. Sometimes,
which is completely against the App Store guidelines, by the way, just to be clear. It's very clear in the App Store guidelines that this is not allowed. But even Apple does this.
I think that guideline is already removed today because it's very hard to enforce.
Googling App Store guidelines right now. I know it's impossible to enforce. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
So yeah, for this notification summary, from how I see from Apple, is they try to don't make it so bad. So which means that if you want to enable apps like this, at least comes in as a summary together in one place, so it's more cleaner and less distracting.
4.5.3 in the Apple App Store guidelines, do not use Apple services to spam or send unsolicited messages to customers, including push notifications. 4.5.4, push notifications should not be used for promotions or direct marketing purposes unless customers have explicitly opted in to receive them via consent language displayed in your app's UI. And yes, every application that I know of violates this.
Like for example, for Foodpanda or Grab, it's nice to turn the push notification on. For example, when your food arrives and you get a push notification, right? Like that's useful, right? But most of the time, they just spam you with ads, right?
Yep, and it's super. And the worst is Foodpanda. I got in touch with their support and I said, hey, is there a way for me to turn off your unsolicited spam? And can I just get order notifications, please? And the response that the support team gave was, do you mean the marketing emails? no, I don't mean the marketing emails. I mean all this unsolicited spam that you're sending me to push notifications. Okay, sorry, go on. Then, so now Apple has a mechanism where it will group together notifications that you choose, and you will get a summary of these notifications at the end of the day instead of throughout the day.
Yep.
Now, the problem I see with this is that is it really that useful? Because I have already curated my notifications quite a bit. Like throughout the day, I only get notifications from chat applications, basically. And when you're in a chat application, the best you can do is to select for this group, I will mute this group because I don't want to know about notifications.
From how I can see is that it could be emails or any news publication that you subscribe to.
Emails could be useful, yeah.
So
emails could be useful, yeah.
So for example, you don't care during the day because you're working, but at the end of the day, it would be nice if you have like a quick view of all those notifications in one place.
Oh, that is actually really smart then, yeah, because on New York Times, I subscribe to two kinds of notifications. One are their other special pieces, I forgot what they call them, the editor's specials or whatever you call them, and the daily morning briefings. I love getting the morning briefings every day because that's how I start my day. Okay, so when you say it like that, then I do see some benefits to the system. Yeah, especially for like those news publication applications where you don't want to get a constant stream of messages throughout the day. You just want to know at the end of the day what all the publications are. Yeah, like you said, for emails, it can be quite useful because I've basically turned off all email notifications, and the system I have now is that I will just check my emails whenever I want to check them. And I guess it can be quite okay to get like a once in a day or twice in a day summary of these are the email notifications that you received in the past 8 hours. And I can quickly glance through them just to see whether any of them are actionable, or I can just dismiss everything and move on with my day.
Yep. I think it's nice that you have that control, but
Correct, yep.
Really depends on how power user you want to be.
Yeah, I think giving more control to the user over notifications, I think is a good idea. Yep, I definitely think it's a good idea, because as I'm sure a lot of our listeners, assuming we have any listeners, I'm sure the people who listen to this podcast, I'm sure they've had some troubles before when it comes to push notifications on their devices. And yeah, apps nowadays they just send push notifications left and right, and giving more control to the user in terms of when they want to get these notifications, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so another update to the notifications is that for iOS 14, the last one, since they introduced widgets, right, you can choose to hide different pages if you wish, right? Do you know that you have that feature?
Different widgets? What do you mean?
Different screens. So for example, you got 3 screens on your iPhone. You can hide the second screen or the third screen, right, from appearing.
Which I do not use, but yeah.
So for this new coming update focus notification, you can have work or home page.
You can have different versions of the same home screen.
Yeah. Back to the scenario from 9 to 6, right? So from 9 to 6, well, you have your Slack, your work email,
Jira. That is really handy. I think that's really handy, yeah.
Yeah, all the work stuff in the home screen. But after work, that it will put back your normal home screen where you have your podcast, your Spotify, your Twitter and all that stuff. So it gives you control over when do you want to have different home screens, and I think that can be pretty neat.
Yeah, I agree, that sounds pretty neat. Yeah, it just allows you to separate work from personal life a bit more, assuming your work schedule is kind of in order, right? Yeah, fixed. Because I know a few people, especially after starting working from home, their work schedules are all over the place.
So another big thing that they announce is live text.
Live text.
So live text is you can have...
Wait, let me guess the feature. Let me guess the feature from the name. Live text. Is it when you send an iMessage and you can write the message out and the other user sees you writing the message live?
No, man, I think you can do that right now, right?
With what?
Yeah.
Oh, with digital touch.
I think you can do that right now.
Oh, okay. What is live text? It can bring text to life. I don't know. What does live text do?
Live text is where you take a picture of a shop. You can click on the phone number on the banner and you can copy the text.
I see. So it's just instant OCR on an image.
So it's basically Google Lens. But I quite like how Apple do it with live text, is that they build into the native camera app, so you don't have to download a separate app for it.
Oh, so is it after you take the photo or just by pointing the camera or something?
Just at pointing, you are able to click on the text already.
Oh, that's pretty cool, yeah.
When you're browsing through your photo albums, right, if you see a text, it's also selectable as well. So it's also built in natively into the photo album. I think the beautiful thing about this is that it's quite integrated, so which means that you don't have to learn anything new. So it's just, when you see a text, you just click on it.
Yep. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And a lot of people give Apple flag about, like, isn't this already being done by Google Lens 4 years ago or something? But I think
they're not wrong.
But I think the way Apple executed, I think it would make people use this feature more than the people using Google Lens.
Yeah. Well, my response to that criticism is that it doesn't matter if it's been implemented 4 years ago. Are you going to complain that this feature is now on iOS? I'm not complaining. Sure, they're late to the party, but it doesn't matter, you know. Even if they're 5 years late, I will still want it because it's going to be first party rather than having to download another app to do it. So I think the criticism saying, wasn't this implemented 4 years ago, is kind of like, I don't really see that as criticism. It's just, they're late to the party and, you know, Apple, this is just how Apple's always been, I think. Live text sounds like a cool feature. I would definitely be using that, I think.
Yeah, for example, when you're in a meeting, you're taking note on the whiteboard and you just take a photo, you can just copy it easily. That's another usage that I can think about.
That is probably the best use case for this. Yep. Very, very good example.
So Siri right now, it's available offline.
In iOS 15?
Yep. So which means that
cool.
Even if you have airplane mode turned on, Siri still can respond to you. So which means that Siri responsive rate is going to be faster than before.
That's very good.
And a lot of voice recognition is happening on device, so it's supposed to make Siri much more useful right now.
That's good. The next time I get on a plane, which is who knows when, I can definitely be using Siri to make sure I set a timer then.
Yep, you can, you can actually set multiple timers right now.
You can set multiple timers? Is that a new feature in Siri as well?
Do you know Siri that couldn't set multiple timers for a very long time?
I did not know that.
Dieter from The Verge keeps on complaining about it all the time, and finally his praise got answered.
So saying like this is a new feature in iOS 15, yeah? That one, Siri is available offline, and two, that Siri can set multiple timers.
Yep.
What do you even use Siri for? What do you use Siri for, Morgan?
One thing I love about not necessarily Siri is that for Apple Contact, you can set relationships, right? So for example, you can say, like, hey Siri, can you call my mother? And then they would know that who's your mother and call which number.
Yep. And if any of our listeners were listening to this podcast on a speaker, then you just made their iPhones all call their moms.
No, we can beep it. Actually, this feature is not available for Android devices. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you are able to do that.
I see. Well, that's easy. You can easily overcome that, yeah, just by saving your mom in your contacts list as mom. Then when you say, okay, Google, call mom, then it will call mom, right?
Yeah, but I'm the sort of person that likes everything to be properly categorized.
I see. So you save your mom's name in your contacts list as her actual name, yeah?
Yeah, so I have my mother with her full name and all that.
I have the same system.
Yeah, and that includes my girlfriend as well.
I see. Okay, so even for your girlfriend, it's her full name. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
And so you can just easily say, hey Siri, can you send a telegram to my girlfriend? It's able to do that. Actually, Google also can't make telegram messages.
Well, my problem with that, I'm happy that Siri can do it, but I find that everything after, hey, please send a text, like when I try and actually give the content of the message, it just gets jumbled up and I just give up and take out my phone and type the message out anyway, unless it's a very, very simple text message.
So I think normally when I do voice control, it's normally like, hey, tell this person that I'm going to be late, or hey, can you tell this person, remember to get this? So yeah.
But then you have to be very precise. It's like, hey Siri, can you telegram Morgan that I'm going to be late?
Yeah, it's quite useful. Another thing with back to live text, right? You can actually do translation on it as well.
But this is only for languages that Apple supports, yeah? Which right now on the Translate app, for me, Dutch is not there. Therefore, this feature can be useless. Or I can just learn Dutch. Ja, ik leer Nederlands. Ja, ik spreek een beetje Nederlands.
I'm surprised that Dutch is not supported.
It's not supported, yeah.
Really surprised.
Well, if you think about it, like who speaks Dutch? It's only the Dutch. So I can understand, like in terms of, if you want to place efforts on, if you want to decide on what languages to support, and you look at like number of native speakers for a language, I doubt Dutch is going to be very high up there.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Spanish, French.
Spanish,
maybe?
French, Portuguese,
Yeah,
Italian, German. I'm sure all of those languages are there.
Yeah, you have a point. Another new feature is that shortcuts is coming to the Mac.
Oh, shortcuts on the Mac. But wasn't there already like the
Yeah.
Mac Automator? Yeah, but I guess shortcuts makes things a lot simpler, yeah?
I think Automator is kind of specific to the apps on Mac, where shortcuts you can do it. You have more devices that is supporting shortcuts because it has been on iOS devices for quite some time. Do you generally use shortcuts?
I've only got previously when I was living in Dublin. In my bedroom, I had smart lights, and I did create a shortcut for bedtime, which would turn off the lights, and it would start a timer as well because I was time tracking at the time. It would dim the lights, start a timer, and put my phone to silent. That was probably the most quote unquote intensive shortcut that I've ever had. Apart from that, it's been very basic. I have a shortcut to do a WhatsApp video call with my mom. I have a shortcut to turn on flight mode, which is it turns on airplane mode, it turns off Wi-Fi, it turns off mobile data, but it keeps Bluetooth on because I use Bluetooth earphones.
Oh, that's smart.
Yep.
Never thought about that.
Yeah, it also turns on low power mode. So yeah, because it's not like I'm gonna do much on a flight anyway. So that's quite handy. Apart from that, I've never really played around with shortcuts that much. What about you?
I felt that you have more shortcuts than me. The one shortcut that I use the most is sending my ETA.
I see. But how does that work? How does it get your ETA from Google Maps?
So basically, you're out to work. So I set the shortcut to send my ETA back home into a message. So when I trigger that shortcut, it will calculate my ETA back home, and it will pop up a
using
message.
what? Using Apple Maps or Google Maps or
Apple Maps?
I see. I'm guessing in Malaysia, Apple Maps doesn't have like does it have traffic support?
It has a bit. I'm not too sure, but
so this is a very the confidence level of your ETA is low, I would say. Yeah.
But so far it's a good estimate, I would say.
Okay.
And it's also quite a convenient thing. So you just have to press a button, and then it will calculate your ETA back home, and then it will launch the share sheet at the bottom, so you can share to, doesn't matter which messaging platform that you use.
Yeah.
Can be shared to Telegram, can be shared to WhatsApp. So it's quite versatile, I would say. So this is the one shortcut that I use the most.
Quite handy. That is assuming, okay, so for this to work, I remember having a problem with this before. So for this to work, I remember having a problem with Apple Maps before, whereby I could not set my home address because apparently Apple just did not acknowledge that my home address existed.
So which means your home doesn't exist.
Yeah, my home was somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So that's why I could never use this whole Apple Maps ETA to home system. But I'm guessing, yeah, for you over here, it's not a problem.
Wait, this issue, was it in the Netherlands or in Dublin?
Nope, it was here in Malaysia.
Yeah, I also have the same issue 3 years ago. I think recently it got patched up already.
Good to know.
So yeah, shortcuts on Mac, I think could open a list of possibility. I think, yeah. Since right now I'm on my year of the web track, right? So I think I can learn some JavaScript and write some fancy shortcuts.
That's actually a very interesting point. Is there going to be integration between like websites and shortcuts, or how is that going to work?
Currently, shortcuts already support JavaScript and calling from API already. And I think programming a shortcut is easy on the Mac, I would say.
Yeah, true.
On the desktop.
Yeah, rather than having to click around, rather than having to tap around on the device. Yeah, it feels very clunky.
Yeah, rather have to write the whole script on your phone.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And it's good to hear this anyway, because if anything, it just supports what I think is Apple's quote-unquote grand vision, which is to basically unify all of the OSs into one
platform.
Is that true? Is that still their grand vision? I don't know. Now that they have iOS and iPadOS, not sure if that's true anymore. I think they definitely want to achieve a bit more parity between all the OSs. I don't think they're going to go for like a single... Are they M1 chips?
I don't think they're going to unify the OS, but I think it's easier to bring features between OSs right now.
Especially because
the-
M1 chips, they're pushing for the same chip now on laptops and iPads. Eventually, it's going to get on the iPhone too. Or is it already in the iPhone? Jesus, I'm not keeping.
No, it's not on
Okay,
iPhone yet.
yeah.
But do you know that a lot of features that we discussed today are not available on Intel Macs?
Oh, what is not available on Intel
Like
Macs?
for example, for some Apple Neural Engine stuff, it's not available for Intel Macs.
So that includes mic filters, live text, and
Yeah.
offline Siri.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's
Wow.
one feature that I talked about. I'm not too sure about offline Siri. I think offline Siri is just on iOS devices. Another thing that I don't want to bring it up here is Apple Maps. They got add some fancy 3D modeling stuff because I think Apple Map is always very US centric,
Yep.
which means that a lot of the latest and greatest features are always optimized for US users, and they have a lot of 3D modeling, fancy
Yeah.
stuff. It's not supported on Intel Macs as well.
Interesting. Okay. That's really fascinating. They're really pushing the M1 chips.
Yeah, and I feel like because right now everyone is using the same architect in terms of their silicon, and I think that it's easier to port features between them right now.
Yeah, for sure. And Apple also doesn't want to spend all the resources supporting a quote-unquote obsolete platform now. So I think it's definitely a push that they're definitely pushing people to move towards M1 chips. Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to see how things play out. Is this the conclusion then of your list?
I actually saved the best on the list.
You saved the best for last. Okay.
This year's Dub, they introduced universal control, and I think that is something that you will like it. So can you guess what universal control
Okay, I
is?
must admit, I saw Craig Federighi's video where he demoed. He had a MacBook and an iPad, and then he bought like an iMac next to him, and then he dragged a photo from the iPad through the MacBook to the iMac, and he pasted it in some presentation. I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah,
Yep.
I thought it was pretty cool. But but I just don't see myself. Okay, so I guess for my situation, I'm pretty sure one requirement for this to work is that you all have to be signed in on the same iCloud. That already kills it for me in terms of work. My work MacBook, I'm logged into my work Apple ID. My personal iPad, I'm logged into my personal iPad.
If only Apple supports multiple users on the iPad.
Correct. If only they support multiple users. So when I saw this feature, I was like, yeah, that's really cool. But, I'm not in a position where I have an iMac, a MacBook, and an iPad. Like, I don't have those as my personal devices. But for a lot of people who work freelance, I guess, or people who are willing to log into their personal iCloud accounts on their work laptops, this might provide some benefit.
So if you think about it, right, it's not really about working just in iMacs, MacBook, and iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you can use it on iPhones as well. But I'm not sure whether is it supported right now.
I don't think there's a trackpad. I don't think there's a mouse cursor on iOS yet.
Oh yeah, all right. That doesn't make that makes sense.
So either you have two iPads so you can share stuff within the two iPads, or you could have I don't know, man. This is one of those features where I think there's going to be a few users out there who are going to be extremely happy about this feature. I just don't see it being something I'm going to really be benefiting from. But it's really cool, I saw the video, and if it works as well as it does, that's amazing. And the really cool thing is that I think for Apple to have implemented this, I don't think there was a lot of additional work, because this is like airdropping from one device to another, but just making that experience a bit more seamless.
So this is a combination of three features if you think about it. So it's handoff, continuity, and airdrop. And I think that for this universal control, the one thing that is quite smart is that it can detect where's the placement of the device. So for example, you have a MacBook in the middle and you have the iPad on your right hand side, and you don't have to do any configuration. So which means that when your mouse is on the right, it would somehow magically knows that the iPad is on your right.
I see. How does it?
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but how does it know that?
From what I read is that Apple is just going to assume that your iPad is on the left or on the right.
What? They're just gonna assume that?
So if you put your iPad on the top of your computer, I don't think that's gonna work. I think
That's exactly
I
the
think
setup
it's
I
gonna
had
work.
at home.
So for this first version of universal control is that it will assume your devices is gonna be on your left or on your right. Somehow it's able to have that location mapping without the user having to tell the device where it's being placed at.
Yeah, that sounds okay. I mean, yeah, cool. So I'm not really sure what reaction to give you.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, cool.
You're right.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
But
like, cool,
this
yeah,
is why
we'll-
you saved the best for last. This is the best thing you got from Dub this year, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it? I felt like this is like one of the few wow moments, I would say.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a wow moment. Yeah, being able to drag something from the iPad through the MacBook and to an iMac. Yeah, I'm not gonna log into my personal iCloud on my work MacBook, so I guess I'm still gonna be either airdropping, or when airdrop fails, I'm just gonna be using Telegram saved messages to share files between devices. Okay, so does this conclude the list of big announcements that you've summarized for me from Dub this year?
Yep.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you. Yeah.
So what do you think about the announcement this year?
It feels kind of meh, to be honest.
That's why in the beginning I kind of mentioned like it's kind of like a low-key moment, but there's a lot of small little things that...
Yeah, a lot of nice quality of life improvements, which I think is really good anyway. Like when I say meh, I'm not disappointed by any of these announcements. I think if Apple decides to take a quieter year just to really refine a lot of stuff, then I think that's good, you know. Wait, I think you glossed over a few things. I have a few things off the top of my head that I remember. iPadOS 15 can now have widgets, and the app library is coming to iPadOS 15.
To me, it's because since it's already on the iPhone, so it's nothing special on the iPad anyway.
Okay. That's fair.
Oh yeah, that's one thing that I have to bring it up as
okay.
Do you know that Safari extensions from the desktop is available on iPhone and iPad OS right now?
Wow, that's huge, dude. That means I can finally have Dark Reader.
Yeah. So which means that all the Safari extensions that you have been using on your Mac is now available on your iPad and your iPhone as well.
That's good, because I want Dark Reader on iPadOS and iOS. I would be very happy to have that on my tablet.
I'm not too sure about the implementation of it, but hopefully could be as seamless as just using it, like immediately having it on the iPad without much
I hope so.
developer updates.
Probably what they did in the background was they unified the the iPadOS, the iOS, and the macOS version of Safari now all run on the same code base. Then therefore extensions now can be easily shared across all platforms, because the extension just kind of builds towards the desktop version of Safari, and now basically the desktop version of Safari has been brought over to iOS and iPadOS.
Yeah. Do you notice that this might be the first year in Dub that Apple actually gives a lot of love towards the web platform? So you have FaceTime links, and now Safari with extensions.
I wouldn't call this Apple showing love towards the web, but sure.
No, I mean like these two, the big highlights is actually on the web technology.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's true, yeah. So I guess to summarize all of the announcements from Dub this year, I don't see anything particularly groundbreaking. There seems to be a lot of quality of life improvements. What I am looking forward to the most is probably the notification focus. That seems to be something I want to use quite a bit, especially to control all of the spam notifications that I get from applications. I'm not sure whether FaceTime Link is going to be something that's going to be adopted very well, because I think a lot of people have already moved on to using whatever platforms that they're used to by now. What else was announced? Live text, I think. Live text is cool. I think there's definitely going to be some uses over there.
Yeah, if only got Dutch translations, right?
Well, yeah, in terms of translating text, it would be nice if they support Dutch. But as long as I can select text in a photo, I hope that I can just select the text, and then I'm going to share that into Mate, which is what I use as my main translation app right now. But apart from that, I think this seems to be just general quality of life improvements and nothing breaking, as you say.
Yeah, but still I'm quite excited to try out, especially live text.
Yeah, it's that. So what about you, Morgan? What are your feelings towards Dub this year? How would you summarize it? And what are you looking forward to?
In terms of what I'm looking towards more, I think it's a list of disappointments. I was hoping they would put more attention towards improving the Photos app, because since everyone is moving away from Google Photos right now, and I think Apple Photos is kind of like the only contender left in the market, and they made some updates in terms of photos in the memory section, and I think that's just very little, and I was hoping they can do more in that. But in terms of Safari extensions on the iPad and the iPhone, the first thing on my mind is using AdBlock.
Yep. That's definitely the first thing I want to do as well. Use AdBlock on. Actually, I already have an ad blocker. I mean, the Safari already supports content blockers.
And I think that having Safari extensions on the iPhone and the iPad might improve on that ad blocking situation.
Yeah, I think it would help.
I think it will give more options and helps in terms of giving people more control.
Yep, it's always nice to give people more control over their devices.
That's about it.
Well, Morgan, thank you very much for summarizing all of the announcements from DubDub for me this year. I really appreciate the effort you took in compiling all of this information. And I'll be looking forward to an iOS 15 and iPadOS 15 and macOS Monterey is coming out. Are you going to get on the developer beta?
Nah, I never.
You've never done the developer beta?
And would never start.
Oh, really? Why not?
For my past experience, it always messes up. So, for example, when you're on the new beta, right, and once the actual release is out, it kind of messed up your beta. So, which means that sometimes you have to format your phone in order to get to the official release. Not sure whether you have that experience before.
I've had that experience before, yeah.
So yeah, this kind of concludes DubDub for this year. So I guess I'll catch you next time.
Sure, buddy.
Yep.
See you next time.
Bye.
Doei.